Drafty and noisy garage doors are the worst. So today, I'm gonna show you 5 cheap and easy ways to seal up those drafts and keep the cold out, and also get that garage door working just like new. Oh, God. I'm over at my sister's house today because this 20-year-old garage door has seen better days. Now, this garage door does have some good things going for it, and mainly it has insulation built in. So we're not gonna be talking about insulation today. That's definitely a DIY project you can do on your own. But today, we're gonna be talking about sealing up the gaps. And this garage door has a ton of them. And it's really, really noisy. Let me show you. So let's take a listen at how this sounds going up with the original hardware in it. You can hear the rollers up here kind of popping and snapping. It just sounds like there's a bit of binding going on. Just doesn't sound like a smooth, well-oiled machine. Some of that noise is coming from actually the chain drive on the actual garage door opener, but a lot of it is just coming from this whole system here of the hinges and the rollers and everything. So I think we can fix that too. It's a pretty windy day outside today, and as the wind is blowing against this door, you can just see everything moving over here, any of the little cobwebs and dust and debris, but also the garage door just kind of is moving in and out. And when it's a cold day, that just brings in all that cold outdoor air, and basically the garage is the same temperature as it is outside. And I got a cool way to show you exactly how bad this air leakage is. Check this out. I've got a smoke machine. Let's put it to the test. All right, I'm on the inside, and I've got somebody out there ready to start spraying in that smoke right along that seal or lack thereof. And we can see exactly how much smoke comes through. Oh, God. Just imagine that is all cold air coming through on a 10-degree day. Just nothing is stopping that. All right, I'm gonna open this door. It's like a Cheech and Chong movie up in here. Hold on. All right, so coming outside, we have a pretty good seal up here at the top of the garage door. But as you go down, you can start seeing this gap starting to widen. And then by the time we're down here at the bottom, we've got maybe a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch of gap. And that is not stopping the wind at all. But interestingly enough, if we press in on this, that seal actually closes right up against that weather seal that's on the outside. If we could get that door to stay tight up against that seal all the time, that would be awesome. And I've got a cool product that will do exactly that. So what we're gonna install is the green hinge system. And they're green, so you can remember the name. The green hinge is the sponsor of today's video. When I saw these, I thought they were super cool because it's basically a self-adjusting hinge. And these just replace the current hinges that we already have. Let me show you how easily they install and how they work. Before we start installation, I'm gonna disconnect the power to the garage door opener. You don't want somebody coming in trying to open the garage door from the outside while we're working on it. But the great thing about this system is that it is super easy plug and play. And so I'm just gonna take 4 bolts out of my current hinges, put these in place, and put the bolts back in. So I can do the entire job with just a ratchet. Now you do wanna make sure that your hinges are compatible with the green hinge system. And if you go on their website, they have a whole compatibility chart to show everything there. But let me show you how this goes. It's gonna go really fast. Now you don't start on the bottom roller because that's not actually a hinge. You start on this first one, which is your first hinge. And again, all we have to do is use this little ratchet here, and I'm just gonna take off the hardware. Now, to make it a little faster, I'm actually not even gonna use a ratchet. I'm just gonna put it on a drill. All right, now I can just pull off this hinge, and you'd want to keep your rollers. You're gonna use your same rollers, but actually, I'm gonna replace these rollers because these rollers are 20 years old, and we're gonna put some new rollers in here that will spin a little better. So here's the old rollers, and kinda sounds a little bit like a maraca. And maracas are great, except when they're in your garage door. You don't want that. And this is the new roller that I'm replacing it with. And this is a sealed bearing. It is nylon. There's nothing. This is like a maraca for people who can't hear. So anyway, this guy right here is gonna go in the trash, and these guys are getting replaced. And this is actually tip number 2. This one is how to make your doors more quiet, is getting better bearings. You wanna have nylon rollers, you wanna have a sealed bearing, and you can install these. This is only like about 20 bucks. So we'll put these in, and it's gonna be way more quiet. All right, when we go to replace the hinges, it does matter what order you put them in, and they have a little number down here to tell you which one. So this has a little number 1 here, and our next one has a number 2, so forth and so on. So make sure you start with number 1. That'll go here in the bottom and work your way up. All right, so here's the green hinge, and we could put our roller in this second slot now. So we do have actually 2 of these hollow shafts here, and this is how the whole system works. And this is so genius and so simple. There's basically just a spring wrapped around this upper pin here, and then it comes down and it pushes on this lower one. And so what that's going to do is that's going to force that garage door up against that seal, and it's going to force the back of the roller up against the back of the track. So that's the whole secret of the system and how it works and how it's going to keep the seal on your garage door. All right, now to put these in, I can just put the roller into the track, and then I'm actually going to start with this hole right underneath the lower pin, because after I put this in here, I'm not going to be able to access that with the ratchet. I'll have to do it with a wrench. But now I can slide it down. Now that bolt is underneath that little pin. I can put in my other hardware. I can just tighten these up with the drill. And I'll do the last one with a wrench from underneath. And it's easy as that to just change one out. And now we can go on to number 2 and number 3. All right, now I'm just going to install this one, and I'm going to do this in real time. We'll probably speed it up a little bit just to show you how fast and quick it is without me yapping and blabbering. That's it. I don't know how long that was, but it was really fast. All right, before we turn the power back on and run it, we want to make sure we can do it manually and everything's okay. So I'm going to disengage the lock here, and I'm going to run this up and down a few times manually just to make sure nothing is binding, so we don't like blow up the motor or rip it off the ceiling. I don't have any handles around here, unfortunately. Everything seems pretty good. All right, let's check it out and see how it works with the opener. All right, that worked great. And it's not just the rollers that reduce the sound. Actually, the green hinge system helps reduce noise as well, because it basically puts it under tension so that your door's not gonna rattle a lot. The true test is, let's close it and then go outside and see how that gap looks now that we had between the door. All right, look at our gaps now. So up here at the top, we had that minor gap that was then opening up. And if we follow down, we have a great looking seal until we get to that kind of bottom hinge that we installed. And then down low, we still have a really big gap. And I know exactly why that is. I just figured it out, and I'll show you here in just a minute. But if we look at the other side of the garage door, it's perfect all the way down because of the green hinges pushing up against that seal. Here on the right side, we are perfectly tight up against this little seal, and this is exactly how it should look like if this is installed properly. The one on the left side was not installed properly, and that's why we have the gap. Let me show you what happened. So I was taking a look, and I thought that maybe this had just gotten out a little bit, but I saw that it was a 5-inch gap from the edge of the board down to the seal, and that was consistent across the whole thing. So then I got thinking, well, maybe it's this exterior trim board, and that's exactly what it was. So right here, we're about maybe a little bit more than 2.5 inches from the outer frame to the brick. But if we go down to the bottom, we're down to 2 inches. So our seal at the bottom is a 1/2 inch away from the door further than it is at the top. So I'm gonna go ahead and adjust this and fix that install so that it'll be up nice and tight to the door, just like it is on the right side. And the green hinge system is doing its job, but it can only do as good of a job as your seal is installed. All right, so that is our next tip on fixing the cold, is fixing your door seal. And obviously ours is installed improperly, which some of yours may be as well, or you may not even have one, or it may be cracked and worn. So whether you have any of those issues, if you do have gaps or damage, you want to replace it and or fix it. And this is really easy to install. It's just nails. It's actually already loose. So I'm going to pry this off and then adjust it and pull it in tight. I'm actually going to close the garage door. So if you are using an old one, be careful, it might get brittle. This is just plastic. but I think we'll be okay with that. All right, so I'm gonna close the garage door and then we can press it up against there and nail it tight. So I showed you that the seal is good up there and it kind of started bowing out just a little bit as we went down. And so I'm just gonna tighten it up and nail it in place. Look at that, now our gaps are perfect and that is gonna keep out all of the air with the hinges pressing against it. Fast and easy. Now I'll just go ahead and caulk and repaint this after I'm done. And you might be thinking, well, you can just adjust this and you don't even need the hinges. The thing is, it works in tandem with that because it is keeping the door tight. So when that wind comes, it's not gonna be able to push that door back because the hinge, I'm having to like really push on that. So this seal right here works in tandem with the tension of the door. And you can adjust it and see if that works for you, but if that 1-2 combo, that is really gonna make a great seal. All right, I am definitely impressed with this green hinge system and it's gonna eliminate those gaps, which is gonna help you save energy and money and basically just make your garage more comfortable. If you wanna check them out, I'm gonna have a link down below in the description. They're actually pretty inexpensive, and a big thank you to Green Hinge for sponsoring today's video. Now the next biggest culprit for getting that draft inside your garage is the bottom seal. You can see the seal on this one is just absolutely destroyed. And it's actually missing pieces at the end, and that was also letting some of that smoke and that air in on that. So the next thing that we're gonna do is replace this bottom door seal. All right, first thing we need to do is get rid of the old one, and I'm hoping it's just gonna kind of pull out, and oh, the sun is like shining here, so it should go nicely. So I'm just gonna start trying to, oh gosh, that's nasty. All right, that is not coming out nicely. Ugh, there's all kinds of dirt and nastiness in here. And this thing is like rock hard, so it's not moving very well. I think what I'm gonna do is actually just try to kind of cut it into sections and then pull it out and see if that works. All right, that doesn't seem to be working real well. Because basically the way this is attached is actually there are T-grooves in this aluminum channel, and so you slide it in, and so because it's so hard, it's not wanting to pull out. So I'm just gonna, let's see if we can actually just, oh, there we go. Hey, I made that much more difficult than it actually is. So all you really have to do is just kind of slide it out and just kind of bend it behind your track, and then as you pull it out, you can just kind of, ow, sweet. Don't do that. Be careful out there. All right. I think we're gonna be okay now. I had to get a little Band-Aid. That thing was bleeding like crazy. You know, you get just like a little cut and it just, all of a sudden my whole finger was bloody. We're good now. All right, that's the last of it right there. Oh boy. Old one out. And what I want to do now is just clean out that track because there's all this dirt and stuff in there. Then we can install the new one in reverse of how we pulled out the old one. All right, so I picked this up, and this is a 17-foot roll. They have a 16-foot garage door. So what we'll do is feed it in there, and at the end, we'll cut it to size. And I like that, getting one that's a little bit oversized versus just buying one that's exactly 16 feet. In case there's just a little bit of overlap or whatever, you can trim it to size. And so here's what I was talking about. This has just the round piece in the middle that'll help that to seal. And then you basically curl that up, and we've got these two little T pieces that will slide right into the T-track of the aluminum. One thing they say to do to help it slide easier is either do soapy water or a silicone spray, and guess what? We've got this silicone spray. We can use it again here. Maybe we'll use it again a little bit later too. I'm just gonna spray this up in the track. All right, so I'm just gonna feed in the little T-slots right into these two channels here. And there's one, and there's the other. Now we can just feed it all the way down. Oh, this came out. Shoot. And just take your time. I was going a little fast there, and it actually popped out of the channel. And if you actually have two people, one person pulling and one person feeding on this end, it would go even better. Now, the further you get it in, the more friction there's gonna be, so you definitely probably wanna get a helper as you start getting it further down the track. All right, getting down here towards the end. This is just slow and steady wins the race on this one. You don't want to pull it out. All right, now before I get it all the way to the end, I'm gonna go ahead and put this little plug in here. So this is a little plug that will go in the round part, and basically that will keep from any animals or anything or getting in there and just causing a mess. So I'm gonna go ahead and just put this on the end, and I'll put it on the other end when we get that trimmed. All right, we've got it pulled just to the end. Now I can go to the other side and trim it off. Now I'm just gonna use a utility knife and cut this right along the edge. And there we go. Now I'll put in the plug down here, and that should be it. Now let's close the door and see what the gap looks like at the bottom. That looks good. Check that out. We are tight up against the door. We are tight on that seal. No longer have any gaps down here. Before we do the smoke test to see how well this has sealed it up, one thing I'm gonna do for getting the squeaks out is just, again, go through with the silicone lubricant, and I'm gonna hit all these interior hinges. So we've already taken care of those, obviously, but basically just hit anything that moves. So any of your little hinge points, anything on your tracks, go ahead and lube it up with some silicone spray, or white lithium grease will also work well. And that's a great maintenance thing you should probably be doing about every 6 months. All right, it's time for the moment of truth to see if it will keep out the fog machine. So we got the fog machine queued up on the outside, but first of all, just take a look at the light gaps, which are non-existent now. So before we had all this light coming in through here, and now there is no light. And down here where we had that big gap, now you can see it is covered up. Now I imagine there's probably a little bit of smoke that's gonna get through, but I bet it's gonna be way less. All right, bring on the smoke. Ooh, I can hear it. Okay, a little bit. There is a little bit coming through, like I said, which I would expect. Now that is way, way less than before, and basically nothing up here. So we do have just a little bit getting through down here at the bottom, but that is a huge improvement. I could barely see the smoke in here now versus before. If you want to see 15 ways how to fix a cold room, I got the video queued up for you right there. I'm Brad. Until next time, get out there and build something awesome. That is crazy, like watching the smoke go out and just kind of the dynamics of the wind. That's pretty wild.